Card blocker when it's on the wrong layer. But he got it up there. Don't think it'll matter much. So this is DeckOfManyThings versus Kliphph, another Sir Rutherford Banks player, and a Running Deer. Running Deer being a popular champion choice whenever Gorefeast is strong in the meta, just because it provides you with usually an extra turn. And sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah, the extra health to get you bigger threats online is oftentimes very useful.
Agreed. Let me get the chat over here. What happens if your opponent is not online? After 10 minutes, you will report a 1-0 in your favor.
Yep, and go ahead and ask for your opponent here as well. It's possible that they may just not be paying attention because of the other free tournament that's going on.
And if they aren't, you should just yell at them.
Yeah, honestly, yell at them.
Honestly, the other tournament will happily wait for you because it's not actually doing anything right now. So please just try to ignore it unless something magic happens, and pay attention to your matches here, guys.
Yeah, and it'll be 10 minutes that your opponent has to show up, just for everyone asking.
Yeah, there are some login issues right now, though. That's fair. So if your opponent shows up and is in chat, you know. Is John Falcon here? I saw him in chat earlier, so I believe he is.
So we see Kliphph with Wild and Sapphire here, but no turn to play.
Yeah.
It looks like DeckOfManyThings is going to tunnel a troop on his second turn.
You know what I always wondered? Why that troop that gets tunneled doesn't just always get covered by the dirt? Unless you, like, mouse over it or something like that.
You mean from your side, so that you can see it or have it blocked?
Yeah, just have it blocked unless you want to mouse over it. Meh.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Not a big deal. Kliphph laying down Sight of the Sun. 3-cost, 1/2 unique Coyotal something or another. Probably a cleric. You can exhaust him to replenish your resources. So your turn resources will become whatever your max resources are, assuming you have less than max resources at the time, and you'll gain 1 point of health for every resource gained this way. Doesn't matter, though. As a troop with less than 2 attack, it is vulnerable to Meek, which DeckOfManyThings lays out. Does not let that happen. Again, that health gain from Sight of the Sun and Running Deer is generally like is a way to work around Gorefeast, like to let you build up to your bigger threats, like JJ was mentioning.
Yeah, Sight of the Sun decks, if you don't answer the Sight of the Sun right away, it can really get out of hand how much health you can actually gain back from it. And we see massive health gain that's going to happen here.
Yeah,
see
also,
Talisman of Vitae.
A little awkward. Actually, I guess it makes sense now that I think about it. But Kliphph deciding not to use his charge power there, which might turn around to bite him, but the Solitary Exile is going to come down, is going to lock that Talisman of Vitae up in the box. So we're going to put a weird fetish idol into a box in a desert, and we're going to put that in the middle of Antrath, out in the middle of nowhere. Now, if I had to guess, the reason Kliphph didn't use his charge power there is because we're going to see more charge power related not actions, but constants or artifacts. So maybe more Talisman of Vitae, or the like little bit of a bad draw there. Munario Sensei into Cerulean Mirror Knight. Obviously, you would have preferred to have played those in the opposite order, so it's pretty safe to assume that the Munario Sensei actually drew the Mirror Knight there. Up pops the Scrap Tech Brawler on DeckOfManyThings side of the board, giving him access to 7 resources on turn 5, and we'll see how he chooses to use those. First plays a resource, next plays Zakir the Dragon. Ah! So Zakir...
Shouldn't it be more of a roar? Fire breathing down on them?
Yeah, I suppose. I can't do a fire breathing noise on command. I'm sorry. Because it really just comes out of somebody going like... and and it's like, it's
There
not
it
that
is.
scary.
That's good.
Yeah, you gotta up your casting game
Technically, I
there.
don't want any of your crap. So Zakir, at the beginning of every one of DeckOfManyThings turns, will create one of 5 cards that are all basically gigantic middle fingers to the opponents. So Kliphph is going to want some way to deal with Zakir here. Fortunately, being in Sapphire, any sort of bounce here is going to knock Zakir back, and most bounce in the game is also, in fact, going to raise the cost of Zakir. Less fortunate for him is the Wrathwood Master Moss, which is normally a fantastic play after a Cerulean Mirror Knight, because it will get inspired by that Cerulean Mirror Knight over and over and over again, assuming blocks. But depending on what power of Zakir card we get on DeckOfManyThings side of the field, we won't... Oh, I see. We do get to see. Things could change drastically. Of the 5 cards, the one we just saw, probably not the one deck wanted. So we'll see how play goes out from here. He hits his 6th resource, and he has 3 cards in hand, because at the very least, Zakir creating a card is card advantage. Looks like he's going to swing in with that. Leaves the Soul Marble untouched. Probably going to leave the 3 cards in his hand untouched and pass the turn for now. He plays the Fire Servant here, which is a speed Swift Strike troop. I believe when it leaves play, target player or troop takes 4 damage.
Yep.
I don't believe it always has to attack, but I might be wrong. So it might look like Kliphph is in a bit of trouble here, going down to 13 health, but as we've seen, health is not necessarily a huge issue for him. There's the Bellow of Brigadon, which I was assuming earlier. So now Charge Powers will also create a Dangerous Beast, a 4-cost double wild threshold XX, where X equals the amount of charges used. It's not necessarily how the card reads, but that is how it works. Reverting it will bring it to 0/0, I believe. No. So, tough choice for DeckOfManyThings here. Does it just take the 5 damage? No, it looks like he's going to double block. I'm not sure about... Maybe that's the correct decision.
Yeah, it is curious a little bit with the fact that he's got the Zakir.
I think I would probably just take that one on the chin. It's hard to say. It's up to him. Obviously, he could double block and reduce the Master Moss, but the Master Moss will transform and re-enter the board as a Mossling, which will then be re-inspired by the Mirror Knight, so it'll draw 2 cards the next time it dies. Instead, he takes the 5 damage on the face, goes to 15. Still a relatively safe health total to be at, considering what he's facing down isn't that frightening. He's going to get another Power of Zakir card, and he's very close to resolving Soul Marble's full power here.
Yeah, and if he does get the Soul Armaments active, I don't know that there's actually a way for Kliphph to come back from it. It'd be pretty tough at that point.
Yeah, it doesn't have
even though the
attack. Thank you for.
Even though the life totals are still relatively high for both players, I feel like Zakir is just the trump in this match. That I don't know that Kliphph is going to have any kind of good answers for it.
Well, as just like a bonus double down here, the Fire Servant with Soul Marble and turning into Soul Armaments is going to become a 6/3 Swift Strike, Spell Shield, Steadfast. It's actually going to become 2. This game does cost money to play, Magaziamal, but the people are playing for prizes that are packs and cards and stuff, so they're not playing for money here. So depending on how you meant that question, it's the answer is a little different. So there's obviously the option, and it looks like Kliphph is going to take it. He's going to block with the Dangerous Beast, and he's going to block with the Minario Sensei, and just take 7 from the Zakir. This will draw him a couple of cards. Looking for walks. Irish Badasai is looking for walks.
Yeah, Kliphph does draw the one card to replace it, but I don't know if there's a way for him to get out of this one. Maybe something like a yesterday if he had it, possibly? See a couple of happy clouds here.
Yeah, the storm clouds potentially being a thing here. Storm clouds with that Talisman of Vitae also, just like, could be crazy. I think when a couple more cards are online and tested a little more, we could see some crazy charge-related stuff. Bellow of Brigadon is definitely interesting to see here. Doesn't look like a fantastic situation, obviously, for Kliphph here, but he still has blockers and still has a way to... Like, I don't think he's dead here. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he can survive on the turn. That being said,
be able to survive here this turn. Yeah,
potentially dead to a couple of Zakir card related things. Although, interestingly enough, one of the Zakir cards voids all non-dragon cards, and that actually isn't as beneficial for another Fire Servant. Odd. Wouldn't be as beneficial for DeckOfManyThings in this situation as it would be normally. So that extra servant might be enough to turn the fight around. Looks like DeckOfManyThings going in with everything but the scrap tech. Not sure. I think I might have swung with the scrap tech here because the only threat here is that the Wrathwood blocks it, and if the Wrathwood blocks it, you're getting at least 6 damage through and trading off for everything else on the board.
Yeah, I probably would have attacked as well, but it doesn't really...
It doesn't change a whole lot. I just don't think it was that dangerous of an attack.
Right. See this Splashy sacrificing to draw a second card.
Yeah, that Wrathwood Master Mossling comes back. It's got multiple draw cards on it, as DeckOfManyThings takes a look at right now.
Okay, we see a Hope Heart Unicorn.
Being able to give invincibility to Zakir or the Fire... Like, this situation has gone from poor to hopeless, I think, for Kliphph. Even
I see what you did there.
Yeah, the Hope Heart Unicorn is not exactly doing its job here. That's a very brutal board state. That was also a very interesting combination of Zakir cards. I think DeckOfManyThings even has one more in hand. Just hasn't chosen to play yet. I'm not sure. Might just be a shard or another card. The worst part about this situation is, like, assuming some sort of... Like, let's say Kliphph was playing Extinction here, right? And clears the board. DeckOfManyThings would just use Rutherford Banks and get Zakir back.
Yeah, even if there was...
Also, the Fire Servants would kill him. But, yeah, you know.
Yeah,
or the Hope Heart Unicorn would save everything. Like, I don't think there's...
save it. Yeah, there's no way.
Yeah, in the hypothetical world where it was just Zakir.
Right. So, what artifacts have we seen that could be copied so far?
Talisman of Vitae. And the Talisman of Vitae, when copied by a Doppelgadget, regains its effect every turn, meaning that that's a 4/4... assuming the combo goes online here, and you've got a Talisman of Vitae and then a Talisman of Vitae to copy, and a Bellow of Brigadon on the board, right? So 4 cards here. You play your charges, You gain 4 health from, or you gain 5 health from the charge power itself of Running Deer. You gain 8 more health from having 2 Talisman of Vitae on board.
Yep.
You create the fist, not the fist, but the Beast of Brigadon.
The beast, yeah.
And then you use the 5 resources to gain more charges, and then you just keep looping that infinitely. And when I say infinitely, I mean like at some point you'll run out of charges and you'll need to play a shard, but otherwise you can just do it every like 2 turns. So either you win by having a bajillion T health and your opponent being unable to kill you, or you win by having a series of 4/4s that crush over the opponent. Maybe not with literal crush, but so that's actually really powerful. I imagine there's other things for it to copy in there. Like if you're playing a Doppelgadget, I don't think there's any reason not to play things. I don't want to speculate too much, but there are other good 2-cost artifacts. There are other good charge-related artifacts to be a part of.
Yeah, like seeing the, I mean, the Vitae definitely makes sense. It just got me wondering, because I mean, the deck's really cool. It's definitely showing off some of the new mechanics and some of the ways that you can use the charge powers in set 2 here. I'm just really kind of curious, you know, what else. I didn't think we saw any others, but I thought maybe. Oh, I just wanted to check, make sure we didn't miss one, because that is a neat little card. It makes me think that he's going to have at least one other target. I don't think you would do it just for the Vitae, but maybe I'm wrong. Alright, looks like the players are done with the reserves, or at least DeckOfManyThings is. Yep, and they're going to their match now.
That was a really quick turnaround between matches there. Both players being pretty efficient. Usually the time between matches is just a little longer than that. But obviously if we were able to use best 2 out of 3, it would be quicker. But that's not actually a feasible option at the moment. So Kliphph on the play looks like he's going to mull to 6 here, which means, assuming DeckOfManyThings keeps his hand, he will be playing 2 cards up on his opponent pretty much all game. Looks like he's thinking about it, though. Like, that's not a snap keep. That's a, my opponent mulled, so maybe it's okay kind of keep.
Pretty much.
We've all had that thought.
We've all had those. Well, I have one more card.
Speaking of which, I would like to reiterate that I still think it's kind of silly that in Hex, the player who's going first mulligans, then decides if they want to mulligan again, then decides if they want to mulligan again, and then the next player is like, oh, well, you mulled to 5. I'll keep this 2-shard hand.
Right.
Like, I think mulligans should be back and forth.
One at a time, each player.
Yeah. Once a player keeps, obviously, you would go the other route. I'm not sure if that's their final rule decision on how mulligans work. Really should.
Strategically, it definitely is better that way, the way you described, where you alternate between each other. The only possible counter argument is, hey, it slows the game down a little more because now you have to keep pausing and waiting for each player. But
yeah, but I mean, the game should be working a little quicker than it really is at the moment now.
Yeah, it really should.
Like in a perfect world where like passing priorities and connections are all working out, so like probably once we're not on the beta client, like timers will be very rarely an issue ever again.
Right.
So that's a turn to Angel of Dawn. It's not the first and probably not the last time we'll see one of those today. But there it is, a 4/4 steadfast and flight avatar up in the sky. Kliphph tunneled a troop on turn 2. That could be a lot of things, potentially a spy, potentially subterranean saboteur even. That wouldn't really make sense, but it could be. And follows it up with a Storm Cloud into Shard. Now, if that Storm Cloud remains safe, that's one thing, but chances are that if removal exists for DeckOfManyThings here, he is going to remove that Storm Cloud faster than you can spin a ball in a cup.
Yeah, but I still think you leave it out there. Yeah, with just the one charge counter only, it doesn't really seem like it'd be worth the trade in. We see an attack here from Deck. Angel getting in for the early beats. Oh.
Yeah, I was about to say I don't think I've played against DeckOfManyThings many thousands of times, and I don't think I've ever seen him play a shard on turn 2, even when he should. So,
like, I thought maybe he was just slow rolling it, but no, he doesn't actually have the second shard.
There's the Talisman of Vitae. Now that's not a Subterranean Spy down there, but Kliphph is choosing not to pop his Stormcloud here, and now Talisman of Vitae is out. A Bellow of Brigand on next turn could spell disaster, really, for DeckOfManyThings. Does not move his mouse cursor down to the card that he has drawn. 8 cards in hand, swinging with the Angel of Dawn. Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, well, we know why he paused on his hand. He must have multiple cheap cards, but doesn't have the second resource he needs. He misses on it again. Yeah, some of those are so tempting, too. I've definitely been in that spot before.
Yeah. Like, it's likely the kind of hand that a single Ruby would have really worked out. So, like, as funny as it is, that Angel of Dawn was probably the last card he wanted to see that turn.
That's true.
So Kliphph running the potential, the Storm Cloud, the I don't want to call it the dream, but I'm going to, because the Storm Cloud, like, Hacky Channel has the Hacky Dream emote, which is the Storm Cloud. This might be the actual Stormcloud Dream. He might play a shard next turn, and then activate Talisman of Vitae, and then pop Stormcloud with 6 counters on it.
Also notable to point out that Kliphph's troop didn't come out on the 3rd tunnel counter there, so probably a pretty good chance that we're looking at Reese there.
Could be a Bucktooth Roshi.
It could be a Roshi. Could be Tectonic Mega Hulk.
No, it's a Reese. Darn.
Yeah, Reese is another good tunneler. One that we've seen get some action.
Yeah.
Series. So here we see a Doppelgadget.
A Doppelgadget. Well, the Reese creates, instead of a worker bot, a Tower Hulk. This is the 2nd time on a Shards of Fate tournament shoutcasted featured match that a Reese has popped up and immediately created a 0/0 Tower Hulk.
Right. That's
which just immediately goes to the graveyard.
Curse of the caster.
Yeah, curse of the casting. Now, is that really that bad here is the thing. Like, there were definitely times where that would have been unforgivable here. Yeah, see, now look at this. DeckOfManyThings showing us his hand.
Still no shard.
Still no shard. Not just no shard, though, but like I said, a single Ruby would have turned this into a nuts hand. Also, had he drawn a second shard here, by the looks of it, he would have just been able to meek away that Stormcloud at any given point. He is showing his hand right now, so if you wanted to... he's doing that very deliberately as well. If you wanted to show that for just a second, Tech. His hand is pretty stacked. Now, I think that might have been a little bit of an early call from him to show off his hand, because it actually doesn't... It really depends on what Kliphph is going to do here as to whether or not that was the end of things. You can almost see...
pointing out.
Yeah,
The
like,
one
look,
shot?
it continues to get the one shot. And the thing is, even if you use the one shot off your doppelgadgeted Talisman of Vitae, you just transform it back into the Talisman of Vitae next turn. It's actually kind of ridiculous. So there's that Stormcloud getting to 3. Pretty greedy at this point to not pop it. I mean, you are going to be generating a Reese Troop here, get a Warbot, a 3/3 for 4. Just, it'd be very hard to lose this match for Kliphph. At least in my opinion, it would be a very hard match to lose.
I agree with you. It's pretty greedy, especially when one of the biggest weaknesses for his deck is the flyer, and I mean, deck does already have the Angel out there. To lose the Cloud would be a pretty big blow to him if he was able to do that. I mean, it looks like he's missed on Shard yet again, so it's not going to matter here regardless. Oh boy, yep, and a Soul Marble to the bin.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're never going to resolve that in a time to matter here. At this point,
Nope.
At this point, it's really just the question of is Stormcloud going to pop? And I think at this point it doesn't matter. Like, I think at this point it might be too far away. Hard to see what he just said. I think he's saying at least the main channel's having a good time. Might be the thing. There's the Stormcloud popping. And this... All right. Now, you tell me that little son of a gun doesn't do this crap. That is really improbable. All right? This is really improbable for that to happen. Not impossible.
That you're missing one of the 3.
Mm-hmm. Not impossible for it to happen, but I have popped 7 counter Stormlings, Stormclouds a couple of times in testing. I tell you that happens way more than it should. Might be observation bias, absolutely. Kind of odd either way.
We have it. There are shards in his deck.
There he goes. He's got it. He's got it. Now for the comeback. So what you have to do here is use Meek on a splashy.
I was just hoping for Heat Wave. I don't know if he's got it in his hand or not, but that would be pretty sweet.
Well, that's actually impossible considering what we saw and then what we saw thrown away. He definitely drew that Soul Marble and tossed it away last turn. So, I mean, he's not conceding. He's not dead on board. Not swinging with the Angel. And tunneled a troop. Could there be an out? It seems very unlikely. Could there be an out, though?
That's what I'm saying. I think the Heat Wave would be his best shot, but even let's say he had Heat Wave, like it still ends up being that he has to attack him for 6 more swings. I mean, that's going to give plenty of time to go and do something else too, such as, for example, divination for 3 more cards.
Yeah, but it's not just 6 more swings. Like, those Talisman of Vitae can just recur themselves almost indefinitely at
Infinitely.
this point.
No, that's true. So, I guess Solitary and Heat Wave?
No. Because Solitary requires a draw. Has to be like...
And Diamond. No, you're right.
Has to be like a Heat Wave now. Seems like an odd... Why attack with 3? Well, that's like a potential wild growth, I guess?
I think he's doing it...
It's probably
doing it to keep back the 4 power of flyers and saying,
yeah,
okay,
that makes sense.
I can get him with the 3.
Yeah.
And if you block
you
one of them,
you don't lose anything. If he blocks it, you just sacrifice the splashy. And that's the right play. That's not a Heat Wave, though.
considering his options. We know he's got a few tricks in hand here from what he flashed us earlier. I mean, for being stuck on one resource, this has been a very competitive game.
Well, stuck on one resource with a turn 2 angel.
Right.
Like,
Well, right.
Yeah. The turn 2 angel here, pretty scary. Bear in mind, I think this game would probably have ended very differently if DeckOfManyThings had drawn other shards first to some extent, because we know he had a way to deal with Reese in his hand. So he specifically had to get to the resources that he's on right now. But then I think he could have dealt with it with the cards in his hand. So,
Yep.
Well, his keep didn't necessarily, like, I don't think, it didn't jive well with me. I don't think that it's necessarily terrible either. Like, it was probably worth the risk, especially knowing that your opponent is playing something kind of slow. Like, the quickest things that we've seen out of Kliphph so far are Cerulean Mirror Knights and Minario Senseis, and both of those had an answer in hand for, so it's rough. It's rough to say. There comes the Bellow of Brigadon, and there's no charge available this turn and no resources to get those charges, but that's going to start piling the combo on here pretty thick. And we see DeckOfManyThings this time is willing to risk the block. And there's no trick, it's just the splashy sacrificing itself.
Yep, it says I'm not playing around any pump spells. I think you're just all charges.
Yeah. There's a War Hulk. The Reese is just getting steadily better at this point. I guess DeckOfManyThings must think there's an out here. It's probably not. Probably not that Ruby shard. Now, you know, if Kliphph takes too long to win here, like there's a Zakir that he knows about that could void all non-dragon cards.
Yeah, Zakir could absolutely take this game over.
Yep.
If it gets to that point.
Attacking with the Angel of Dawn here, looking to bait out and only baits out the single splashy. So keeping all of those Stormlings back, but not willing to throw all of them in there. So could have been just pushing through for additional damage all this time. A little hard to say.
Right.
So let's see what is DeckOfManyThings' answer here. He's going to play Solitary Exile. He's got a lot of targets for Solitary Exile. It doesn't matter because, as you would expect, a box of sand sitting in the middle of the desert is just magical enough to be countered. So, nope. Wonder what he would have picked there, though, is the real question. Like, I think it would have had to have been Reese.
Yeah, that's real bad, no matter which one he goes with. I mean, Reese is going to be able to take over the game by itself. Just gaining the 4 health every turn is pretty bad. I think,
it's way more than 4 health because he's got double talisman on there as well.
Oh, no, you're right, yeah.
It's 13.
Right? 13? Is it 5 per?
Yeah, Running Gear's ability is 5 base.
Okay. But regardless, it's still a lot of health. If you think you've got a way that you can reestablish board position with something like Zakir in hand, I don't know. I think you're probably right. You probably still have to take out the Reese there. But it looks like it's not going to matter regardless. Because we see a Bellow.
We also see an attack from the War Hulk here. Again, still, like, I can't imagine that it's actually going to work out here, but, like, I feel like the alpha there was safe. Like, almost no reason not to, really.
I mean, I'd probably keep Reese back regardless.
Yeah, maybe Reese, but everything else, I just.
Yeah.
Although
I'd
I no, but then I suppose you would also play around Gore Feast, but then again, you're at 35 health, so Gore Feast isn't. I'm not trying to judge people's calls. I'm just like it's a little interesting, especially like last turn had counter magic backup as well. So there's a Shard of Conquest that'll. Looks like he's choosing that Ruby Threshold just in case. Now, what do we see here? Does DeckOfManyThings have anything that might magically change the board into being not trash for him? I think he would have Windmill Slammed to Zakir here.
Yeah.
Just
you
to
have
see.
to. Yep.
Living Totem is not it. Now, does he have a chance? Does he have a chance? That Heat Wave's still looking kind of good. Just like
Heat Wave's still looking good. It's not going to be enough by itself, though, even.
No, there's Meek to get rid of the Cerulean Mirror Knight. I suppose that's cool. Nope. No bueno.
I don't know. If I was in Kliphph's spot, I maybe would have not even countered that because
Yeah.
don't know if you really need more.
What do you lose at that point? Like, losing your Mirror Knight is very little.
Yeah, he's so far ahead.
In fact, you almost probably want to lose your Mirror Knight here because you've got 2 War Bots, a Charge Bot, a War Hulk, and 2 dangerous beasts that are inspired by it already. Like a potential board wipe, like a Judgment here.
And just deck him out.
Yeah, it would be very brutal for him. This here, though, is a thing. That Stormcloud hits the board, then there's a Shard played, then the Talisman goes off, then a second Cerulean Mirror Knight goes off. Oh, man. And now he's going to pop the Stormcloud as well, isn't he? Yeah. So that's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 19. Wouldn't deck himself here, but he's getting. He would get to the point where like it just wouldn't be. It wouldn't be in his interest to continue to have that much card draw.
Yeah, like I wouldn't have even played out that second Mirror Knight. That seems a bit dangerous, to be honest with you. Going for the Thunderpuff activations here. Get rid of some of Deck's blockers.
Yeah. Well.
And there we see the Alpha Swing.
Yeah. You're like a solid. You might want to pause and unpause the stream.
Okay. All right, I'll restart it then.
So that was one of the more interesting combo decks out there.
Yeah,
Very
it's always
interesting
nice
to see it fire off.
Yeah, he's the charge powers that he's got. It's grindy but it does build up. Like you've got the life gain, you've got the board position from the beasts. It's definitely pretty hard to get through that once he gets to that end state that he wants to be in to break up any part of it. Like I do think it would be possible maybe with Zakir. That's still strong enough that it could possibly break through that if he got the right Zakir powers that he needed at the right times.
Yeah.
Because like you'd be able to void all the non-dragons, and let's say you make him lose all of his resources from multiple Zakir powers, something like that could still push through it possibly, but it would take a long time to get through if it got to that soft lock state.
Dr. Citadel. Ugh. Saw the name of his deck on stream. That's a thing. So here we go. Deck of Many Things versus Kliphph. Round 3. Fight!
Game 3.
Yeah, well. That's.
I know you wanted the Mortal Kombat sound, though.
Yeah, I wanted. I was specifically doing it for the thing. Every time somebody types ! drop to get the drop menu, instead of thinking of the drop menu, I just imagine the bass dropping.
Drop the bass.
So this time, Deck of Many Things leads with a ruby. Little awkward there. Does that mean he has no diamond? We haven't seen much double threshold ruby for him to concern himself with. Like you would expect a diamond first, knowing he has angels, but maybe he sided them out. Sapphire first from Kliphph, and both players pass their turn. And there's a second ruby. That's a pretty good indication of things.
Yeah, the second ruby seemed pretty likely. I mean, you're right. You just lead on diamond like 99% of the time.
Even if you're not playing angels, really, you do. Like,
yep.
You would lead with them just to instill the fear of angels.
Right. So we see the turn 2 tunnel from Kliphph here again, which is most likely going to be another one of those races.
Yeah, could still be a spy. He's running counter magic, so knowing what to counter magic could be relevant. There's a turn 3 ruby, still no tunneled troop. One counter going up on that tunneled troop, and the draw Stormcloud. Stormcloud into Shard?
Yes.
It is. Now, does he continue to be greedy with his Stormclouds? There's a lot of things that target a Stormcloud.
Yeah, but I mean, if he does have one of those spot removals for it, it's still 1-for-1 regardless whether you would turn it into one of the 1/1s or just keep it there as an 0-2. So
7 cards in hand. Passing the turn. Second Shard. Now, Talisman of Vitae. I don't disagree that like being greedy is probably the optimal play. Like just like long term, you probably get the most payoffs. But I think I'd have popped that cloud.
Yeah, for 2, it starts making sense to pop it there.
Yeah, even knowing that with a Shard next turn you're going to get it to 6. Looks like Deck of Many Things passing the turn yet again is going to have to discard a card here.
Discarding an angel.
Discarding an Angel of Dawn, which is brutal if he drew that after keeping a ruby-only hand.
And so here we see it. That is a lot of charges now. Stormcloud with 6 charges on it gets activated. see a nice assortment. Hey, look, all three of the different clouds are there.
All three, yeah. Odd.
Odd that we got all three, huh?
Odd that no, it is odd that we got all three. I legitimately have seen it so weird that it's so many times in a weird way that it's just like I didn't expect it to do that.
So we do finally see the diamond here out of DeckOfManyThings, and he gets to start playing some of his other cards. For it looks like it's going to be 2 living totems.
Man, that's kind of heartbreaking. So like he kept the living totems. Like a living totem earlier would have been putting a lot of pressure on. At this point, well, especially with Reese popping up here, might be too late. Also, it's fair to assume that there's no crackling bolts or burns in hand, because it would have dealt with that storm cloud long before it popped into a bunch of stormlings.
Yep. So we're probably going to see...
a 0/0 tower house. Wow.
Ooh.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Oh, I see.
Okay.
I suppose that's correct. Sacrificing that 1 damage for either a totem or...
Well, the timing of it was odd,
damage.
though, because if he's doing it that way, I mean, you almost could wait and see if Deck's going to block with both, exhaust the one, and then kill it off with the Biddy Bolt, and then have both totems dead.
Yeah,
Like
this
if he's-
possibly just wants the damage through.
Yeah.
Wanting to
Yeah, that's
damage
true.
through more means you do this. Not caring about the living totem is one thing.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe he's
It's a
just
pretty
wants-
safe Zodiac divination there. Yeah, I don't know. Leaves DeckOfManyThings on 11 health, plays out the Mirror Knight. I think playing the Mirror Knight there I think I might have held it in hand. Even if I knew it was going to inspire the whatever the Reese made. Purely on the basis that I think, like, you have to assume Heat Wave's a thing.
Right.
And you don't want to lose more value to a Heat Wave. What are we getting here? Oh, okay. We can actually tell what we're getting here.
Right.
And unfortunately, of all the things that Reese can create, it happened to create a reactor bot, which is one of the strongest things for Kliphph to have on board with the Talisman of Vitae also there.
Yeah. It's really scary. Can get very large.
Yeah.
Now, he did use the talisman, but it's entirely possible he might have a doppel gadget or something still in hand, so...
Yeah, or just... There's probably Crackling Wits in the deck, considering what he's playing, but maybe not. So, those double Meeks in hand, another just kick in the face for DeckOfManyThings. Clear that he had answers to that Storm Cloud, just needed that diamond.
Yep.
There's that doppel gadget that came off of the
Zodiac.
Zodiac. Still better a reactor bot than a Tectonic Mega Hulk. Potentially. It's easier to react. Well, I mean, the Tectonic Mega Hulk's just like your dad. The reactor bot you don't really know how to react to. It's kind of the thing, because like you can't choose to do your blocks one way or the other. Guys, for anyone that's asking about the test server, first of all, it's awesome that people have interest in both the multiple tournaments, but like the test tournament server tournament didn't fire. It did not fire. It is stuck in a state. You can try relogging if you want, but I almost guarantee you that's done. There'll be an announcement about it soon, I'm sure, but
Yeah, we're not the official for that, but that seems pretty likely that it's kaput at this point. We do see an Inductocopter bot here that came up from the Reese, which seems pretty awesome for Kliphph's deck.
yeah, like that's pretty much exactly what he's looking for there.
looks like Deck's got something to say about it.
Yeah, it's just too long to find that diamond.
Yeah.
Still has 5 cards in hand, but it doesn't really bode well for him. Even a Zakir here doesn't find him the right. Yeah, it doesn't defend
he's too far.
4 or 5. Well, actually, to be fair, Zakir would save him a turn.
Yeah,
But
if he had
he
enough
was sharp into
resources
that.
to play the Zakir, yeah. Like, again, even though it's bad, like, if he kept a hand that had, a couple removal spells and Zakir in it,
Actions.
and I'm sorry, a couple removal actions and Zakir, it's possible that he would have been able to just stall out and wait until he got Zakir online. And like even this board state, even though Reese is generating value every single turn, and there are all those little Stormlings there, it still could have been won by Zakir there.
Yeah. And like a single diamond there gave him 2 totems and 2 meeks. Without those
Right.
Stormlings in the sky, it would be pretty awesome.
Exactly. Like, I'm sure he
motivation,
had
I'm
it-
gonna.
Yeah, like I'm sure he had at least the one meek if that happened, that he would have been able to just kill it away. So completely different game.
So as a heads up, guys, there's less than 10 minutes in this round. I'm gonna